Code Red. If you bleed red and gold, drop everything, because what just leaked will change how you see this roster. Mansour Delane made his NFL debut against Tampa Bay, and not a single Buccaneers quarterback threw his direction, and Andy Reid just told you exactly what that means. The Lions are out here signing Isaiah Pacheco and auditioning Kareem Hunt, while Kenneth Walker III gets ready to break a 7-year drought. And Cleveland has a $5 million wide receiver sitting on the trade block who just landed on Kansas City's radar. 3 stories, one kingdom building something different. If you bleed red and gold more than you hate the Raiders, hit like and subscribe. We start in the secondary. Stay locked. Double cliffhanger at the end. 6th overall pick. Traded up 3 spots to get him. Trent McDuffie gone, Jalen Watson gone, and a shoulder injury that wiped out most of training camp before a single regular season snap had been played. Mansour Delane walked into his NFL debut carrying more pressure than any first-round cornerback should have to absorb in August. And then he went out and did something that rookies almost never do. Neither Buccaneers quarterback threw his way. Not once. Chiefs Kingdom, do you understand how rare that is? Rookie corners get targeted, they get tested. They get exposed in their first professional action because that's what offenses do. They find the new face, they run plays at the young guy, they see what breaks. Not with Delane. The burst to the ball and the instinctive stickiness that made him a top 10 pick showed up immediately. PFF gave him a coverage grade of 64.6 and an overall grade of 65. Not spectacular numbers, but remember the context. First NFL appearance, first quarter only, coming off a shoulder injury that kept him off the practice field for most of the spring and summer. Those are the grades of a player who belongs. Andy Reid took that film into his Monday presser and didn't hedge. He was impressed, and he said so directly. You could see the athletic ability, feet, the instincts, Reid told reporters. He said Delane just builds on that and goes, that the talent is obviously there. Reid acknowledged there will be a mistake here or there. He always does with rookies, but the framing was clear. This is a player who learns, who moves forward, who fits the culture. And then Delane himself spoke, and the quote is worth sitting with. He talked about what the shoulder injury cost him and what it taught him. He said it's always hard not to be on the field, that it's what you love to do, but that the time away allowed him to step back, see from a different perspective, learn from other players' corrections and mistakes. He said he valued every second of it. That's not standard rookie press conference language. That's a 21-year-old telling you he used adversity as a classroom. That's the mental makeup you can't teach. Now let's talk about what this means for the Kansas City secondary in practical terms, because the stakes here are enormous. The Chiefs didn't just lose Watson and McDuffie, they traded McDuffie, a deliberate move to create the roster flexibility that brought Delane in at 6. This secondary is being rebuilt around a rookie corner who played 1/4 of one preseason game. That is either a massive risk or a massive investment depending on whether the talent holds up. And based on what Tampa Bay's offense decided to do on Saturday, which was nothing because the math pointed away from Delane's side, the investment is looking justified already. Will there be growing pains in October? Absolutely. Will there be a game where an opposing coordinator finds an angle and Delane has to learn something the hard way? Almost certainly. But the instincts Reid praised don't get coached. The feet he talked about don't appear on a depth chart. They show up in coverage on 3rd and 8, and that's exactly where they showed up against the Buccaneers. The Chiefs gave up real draft capital to move up for this player. Saturday confirmed they were right to do it. Tell me in the comments, is Delane the cornerback this defense has been waiting for since Marcus Peters? And if you think the 6th pick is going to look like a steal by week 8, smash that like button and let the AFC West know that Arrowhead's secondary just got rebuilt from the ground up. But while the defense is showing signs of life, the offense just got handed a mirror, and the reflection is coming from Detroit. Of all places, stay locked. 7 years, 7 consecutive seasons without a 1,000-yard running back. The Kansas City Chiefs, a dynasty built on everything except a reliable ground game, have gone 7 calendar years without a ball carrier reaching that threshold. And somehow, someway, the Detroit Lions decided to look at that track record and go shopping. Isaiah Pacheco, early in free agency, gone to Detroit. And now, as if that wasn't enough, the Lions hosted Kareem Hunt for a workout. Kareem Hunt. The same Kareem Hunt who couldn't help this offense generate more than 4.2 yards per carry last season. Chiefs Kingdom, you can laugh. Actually, go ahead and laugh. Because what Detroit just did is a case study in not doing your homework. Let's look at the actual numbers, because they matter here. Kansas City rushed for 1,812 yards last season, the 8th worst mark in the entire league. They averaged 4.2 yards per carry. They had the fewest 20-plus yard runs in the entire NFL. 3 explosive rushing plays in 17 games. The offense that won multiple Super Bowls behind Mahomes' arm couldn't find the edge, couldn't break a big run, couldn't create the kind of ground threat that changes how a defense aligns. Pacheco and Hunt combined couldn't do it. And now Detroit has both of them, and they think the result is going to be different. Maybe the Lions want Hunt as a goal line specialist. Maybe they think the blocking schemes translate. But given the interior line concerns in Detroit and the history of what that tandem produced in Kansas City, the football analytics community looked at this situation and arrived at one word: laughable. That word belongs to the article, not this broadcast. But it belongs. Now here's the flip side. And this is the part Chiefs Kingdom has been waiting to say out loud. Kansas City learned. The front office looked at 7 years of insufficient ground production, identified the problem, and went and spent $43 million on Kenneth Walker III. 3 years, $43 million. The reigning Super Bowl MVP coming off 1,027 yards and 5 touchdowns with the Seahawks. Eric Bieniemy is back as offensive coordinator, the same Bieniemy who was calling runs at the peak of this dynasty. And he's been vocal about what Walker brings to the system. Competitive spirit, daily effort, the ability to find success on Sundays. And Walker doesn't stand alone. Emari Demercado, Brashard Smith, rookie Emmett Johnson. This running back room looks nothing like the one that averaged 4.2 last season. The math is different, the personnel is different, and the philosophy is different now that Mahomes is returning from surgery with a coaching staff that understands he can't do all of the heavy lifting himself. Patrick Mahomes carried this offense through 11 seasons, partly because the ground game forced him to. If Bieniemy's installation gives Walker real opportunities, if the blocking scheme creates lanes that didn't exist under Nagy, this team could rush for 2,200 yards this season, easily. The Lions took Kansas City's hand-me-downs and apparently didn't notice they were hand-me-downs. The Chiefs took a lesson and spent first-tier money on a first-tier solution. Which organization understood the problem? Let me know in the comments. Is Kenneth Walker III the running back who finally ends the drought? And if you believe the Lions just made a mistake the Chiefs already learned from, smash that like button and let the NFC North know that Arrowhead's ground game is coming. Because while Detroit is auditioning old Chiefs running backs, a receiver in Cleveland just landed on Kansas City's radar. And the price might surprise you. Stay locked. $5 million. A trade grade of 8 out of 10 on the block. 21 receptions, 270 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a team in Cleveland that's already moved on without telling him. Cedric Tillman is available. And according to Bleacher Report's Mo Moton, the Kansas City Chiefs are right there on the list of potential destinations. Let's build the case from the ground up, because it starts with an honest assessment of what Kansas City's pass-catching unit actually looks like right now. Rashee Rice is back, but he is fighting for his starting role. Xavier Worthy has flashed improvement this offseason, but the data on whether he can carry offensive weight over 17 games remains thin. Tyquan Thornton re-signed to stay in Kansas City. Jalen Royals and Nico Remigio are projects, not solutions. And Travis Kelce, the greatest tight end in football history, may be playing in what analysts around the league quietly describe as his final season. That is the receiving core Mahomes walks back into after ACL surgery. That group, for a quarterback returning from the first major injury of his career, who needs every possible weapon working to rebuild his rhythm and timing, that group is not inspiring. Now consider what Tillman brings. He's 26 years old, former third-round pick. Finished the 2025 season with 12.9 yards per catch, which is a number that says he's not a volume guy, but a vertical threat when targeted correctly. He has experience against NFL competition. He knows how to run routes at the professional level, and he's coming off a Cleveland situation where the emergence of Casey Conception and Denzel Boston in the draft essentially ended whatever development path existed for him in that building. Jerry Jeudy is ahead of him on the depth chart. The rookies are flashing above him. Tillman is the odd man out, and the Browns know it, which is why the trade grade is an 8. Let's also address the injury factor honestly. Moton specifically noted that Tillman has missed 13 games over the course of his NFL career. That's real. That's a pattern that explains part of why Cleveland moved on. But at 26 years old, on a low-cost deal, in a role where he's depth rather than a starter, the injury risk calculus looks different. Kansas City isn't asking him to play 45 snaps per game. They're asking him to be available, to run clean routes, and to give Mahomes a fourth option on third and medium when the defense brackets Kelce. That's a manageable ask for a player of his profile. Here's the financial reality that makes this conversation relevant for Kansas City. The Browns reportedly want to move Tillman before he becomes a cap issue, and teams that wait long enough might be able to pick him up outright rather than surrendering meaningful draft capital. Moton specifically noted that teams might wait until he's released. If that happens, if Cleveland decides a trade partner isn't materializing and simply cuts him, the Chiefs could add a 26-year-old receiver with legitimate NFL experience for literally nothing. For a team that needs depth at receiver right now, that scenario is one of the most attractive available before the season starts. He isn't Tyreek Hill, but Tillman as a fourth or fifth option in a Bieniemy offense, getting targets in the intermediate game while Kelsey works the seams and Worthy stretches the field. That's not a headline acquisition. That's a roster completion. Tell me in the comments, do the Chiefs make a move for Tillman, or do they trust the current group around Mahomes? And if you think this front office needs one more weapon before September 14th, smash that like button right now. Stay locked. 3 stories. 3 reasons Chiefs Kingdom should feel something building. A rookie cornerback who made NFL offenses look the other way in his debut. A running back room that learned from 7 years of lessons Detroit apparently skipped. And a receiver sitting in Cleveland with an 8 out of 10 trade grade and the Chiefs' name on the list. The roster is not finished. September 14th against Denver is 18 days away. Here's what that means for Kansas City. The defense gets a cornerstone in Delane, the ground game gets a $43 million answer in Walker, and the passing game might add experienced depth for nothing. That is the version of this franchise that wins in January. Here's what I need from Chiefs Kingdom. 1. Smash that like if you believe Mansour Delane becomes a Pro Bowl cornerback within 3 years. 2. Drop a comment with your prediction for Kenneth Walker's rushing total in 2026. Does he finally break 1,000? 3. Subscribe, because every subscriber makes Raiders fans angry, and we're covering every Chiefs move through kickoff in Denver. Now the cliffs. Delane plays Friday against Seattle. His second NFL appearance, more snaps, more information. Does he get targeted this time? Does he pass the next test? And the Tillman situation could resolve any hour. If Cleveland cuts instead of trades, Kansas City gets a receiver for free. Which move comes first? This isn't the end. The next 72 hours in Kansas City will be louder than a 3rd and long at Arrowhead. Subscribe now.